Assalamu alaikum. I'm your host Faisal Raza and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, just recently at the sidelines of United Nations General Assembly's 79th session in New York, United States, Pakistan, China, Iran and Russia held a third quadrilateral meeting on Afghanistan. Meeting stressed upon Kabul Interim Authority to take decisive action to dismantle and eliminate all those terrorist groups on equal and non-discriminatory manner. This quadripartite meeting was also in line with the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's Regional Anti-Terrorism Structure, RATS, that also emphasize the need to have regional cooperation, collective response with zero tolerance against all forms of terrorism in the region. We will try to get answers of the several key questions that why Afghan Taliban Interim Authority is reluctant to take decisive actions against all those terrorist entities who took refuge at the Afghan soil. Whether the Afghan Interim Authority, which has not taken any action despite of repeated calls from Pakistan, now will take action on the regional call. And also a question that whether Afghan Taliban intends to flourish terrorism in Afghanistan or their economy and their people. So there are lots of questions. To take answer of these questions, we have in our studios Dr. Gulshan Rafiq. She is the research associate at the Islamabad Policy Research Institute, IPRI. Most welcome to you, ma'am. Thank you very much for your precious time. And with her, Abdullah Khan Sahab, he is the Conflict and Security Analyst and Managing Director, Pakistan Institute of Conflict and Security Studies, PICS. Most welcome to you, Abdullah Khan Sahab. Thank you very much for your time. And online joining us, Brigadier Retired Ghazanfar Ali Shah Sahab. He is the Strategic Affairs Expert. Most welcome to you, Brigadier Sahab. Thank you very much for your precious time. Brigadier Sahab, my first question is to you, that what makes Afghan Taliban not to take decisive action against the terrorist groups at its soil, enjoying safe havens? Is it the lack of will, the lack of resources, or they are by design doing it, but connivance with some of the specific countries like India, who overtly or covertly helping cash-strapped Afghanistan to this extent that they are launching attacks against the countries like Pakistan?
Thank you very much, Faisal. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If I answer you in a one pointed answer, the answer would be the Afghan Taliban and the Afghan Taliban government present is intentionally and with the design instigating the terrorist groups and funding and looking after them and providing them safe haven in undertaking cross-border attacks in Pakistan. Now, what is the reason behind it? Why are they doing it? First of all, you must know that Sirajuddin Haqqani, who is one of the ministers in Afghan government nowadays, at some point of time he had a booty of $10 million by the Americans to catch him. And now if you go compare it with the American strategic review paper issued in 2022, in that Americans had clearly mentioned that they will act against Taliban only if they are a threat to the US soil. And recently, US soil and US core interest. Now, Taliban, whatever they are not doing anything against the United States core interest, rather they are getting money. And there are reported news that the $72 million are pumped into Afghan kitty by the Americans to run their government. Then recently, a congressional research paper has surfaced, the CRS, in April 2024, which has clearly highlighted the presence of the terrorist groups in Afghanistan, where they mention about the Al-Qaeda, they mention about Haqqani, which say when they mention Haqqani network, they say that it's a official semi-autonomous group. It means that it has the patronage of the Taliban government at present. Sirajuddin Haqqani, who is leading Haqqani network and is a minister, is part of the Afghan government. And it is, there are the groups which are composed of Afghan Taliban, and then you see there is TTPC and then IMU and DTIM. and Congressional Research Service paper says that these groups are present in Pakistan. Now, what is if these groups are present in Pakistan? What is the policy of the Afghan government? Afghan government, Taliban government policy at present, it is pointed out, has three tangents. One is that enablement of the those groups who are present in Afghanistan, and when you see enablement, it means that they supply safe havens, they supply funds, they supply weaponry to those groups which are present in Pakistan, and in leading in their group is this Fitna al-Khawarij, which you call TTP. Then is the restriction, and third is the crackdown. Now, at present in Afghanistan, the situation is that there are some groups which are part of the Afghan Taliban, in which you can say the Al Qaeda, TTP, and there is another group which is Central Asian Republic group, which undertakes, which wants to take transnational activities, that is Jamaat Ansarullah. Now, Jamaat Ansarullah and all these groups are combined with the Afghan government. So they are enabling them to take terrorist activity, cross-border terrorist activities. Now, in this, Pakistan is surfing up, and you see in another 6 months there will be terrorism which will go into the Central Asian Republic. Then there is the ISIS Khorasan, and they have the transnational agenda. So they are only undertaking crackdown against those groups which are not aligned with the Afghan Taliban. And their policy clearly indicate that they do not want to annihilate United States,
So,
and they do not.
Brigadier Ghazanfar Sahab, you are absolutely right on that front. But despite of the regional call, there is another dangerous precedent which the Taliban, Afghan Interim Authority, Afghan Taliban are setting on the following the footsteps of India. That they have stated that leveling fake and fabricated allegations on Pakistan now for having Daesh training camps and sending these fighters to Afghanistan rather than taking action in their country. They are leveling allegations on Pakistan, as Afghan Taliban blaming Pakistan for their failures domestically and rather wiping out these terrorist organizations and their outfits. They are now blaming Pakistan, and this is the same tactics which earlier used by India.
Doha Agreement, and if you do it the parameters of Doha Agreement, what did it say? It said that Afghanistan will ensure the world powers publicly. It mentions the words publicly, that their soil will not be used against any terrorist activities against any country. Second thing is that Americans only at this point of time, Americans have total communication and total intelligence system to analyze the threats which are generating from Afghanistan. And in one of the paper I was reading that Americans are only saying that we will take action against TTP if it becomes a threat to a Pakistan nuclear arsenal. And if it doesn't become a threat to nuclear, it means the Americans who had got a commitment in Doha Agreement from Afghan Taliban for not using their side are not pressurizing those powers. Moreover, if you see, there are other linkages also, which are the economic linkages which are existing with China. So, whatever Afghan Taliban are doing, India is a very active partner in that. And remember, where there in Afghanistan, where there will be an Indian embassy, there will be the terrorist organization established there. So, at this point of time, they are aligned with India. For what reason? Because behind the scenes, India, you see the Zarnaj road, Zarnaj highway, which has been created. Why it hasn't been developed? Where Zarnaj highway links with that, it links through the Iran port. So they want to take an alternative route, avoiding Pakistan soil, and avoiding the trade moving from Pakistan to Afghanistan through the Torkham border. So for their interest of avoiding Pakistan, they are aligned with India. And aligning with India means that they will do all those things which are dictated to them. And you remember in the past, in the time of there have been cadets which were sent to Indian academies for getting training. At that point of time, they did not send their cadets to Pakistan military academy. They sent their cadets to Indian military academy. Now, the scenario at this point of time is that India has an influence with Taliban. That influence is twofold. One is the providing that you know the number of people who the number of leaders who have been treated in Afghanistan. So they use India as a back down heaven for instigating attacks against Pakistan. And against Pakistan, you see, there is one other thing which is very which is a trouble creation between Pakistan and India, and that is the borderline. And the Pakistan has erected the electronic posts and all those forts and all those for managing the border activities.
Definitely, you are
Afghans do
talking
not
about the fences and the different sort of forts and posts over there at the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. But unfortunately, Afghanistan is not adhering to the international law, even to the 40 years of sacrifices what Pakistan made. Your point well taken, Brigadier Sahib. Abdullah Khan Sahib, is it right that the Afghan Taliban have no control on their territories? Kabul want TTP and other Fitna al-Kharij to stay in those ungoverned spaces. Its refuge with willingness, arming and facilitation is in line with the purpose, which actually encouraging them to attack Pakistan. In return, TTP, BLA, BLF linked Kabul with India to have availability of much needed resources, the financial flow to the Kabul Interim Authority.
Thank you, Raza, for having me on your show. I would like to say that here in Pakistan, we view Afghan situation from a very simplistic view. What we try not to understand is that what was happening 3 years back in Afghanistan. All these groups which we say that these are terrorists, they were all fighting alongside Taliban. They were brothers in arms, including TTP, which was hosting Haqqanis, which was supporting throughout these 20 years. TTP was supporting Afghan Taliban, and likewise ETIM, likewise IMU, Jamaat Ansarullah, Jamaat Imam Bukhari, Jamaat Kataib Tawheed wal Jihad, and many other groups. What is mentioned in UN Security Council resolution as well. So expecting that overnight Taliban will act against them is something I think we should understand the delicacy of the situation, that they fought together and now they cannot turn their guns against each other. Having said that, Taliban have done remarkable actions against ISKP, and it is internationally recognized that within Afghanistan, Taliban, even when they had not come into power, they were fighting against Daesh, and now this is the most dangerous group.
But Abdullah Khan Sahib, you are absolutely right, because they can't turn their guns towards those allies with them. But the problem is that 3 years, at least 3 years pass, and they are still reluctant, and they're time and again they're making statements that there is no terrorist at the Afghan soil, number one. And secondly, now Zabihullah Mujahid has an on-record statement available on the net as well, that he leveled allegation against Pakistan that Daesh has the camps there in Pakistan, and they are infiltrating Afghanistan and inflicting terrorism upon them. So this is again some sort of a very ridiculous statement, and making it difficult diplomatically to have negotiations with Kabul.
I am coming to that. Taliban were a militia. Taliban were declared terrorists, and many countries like Russia still and many Central Asian countries, Taliban are still declared terrorists. They have not removed Taliban from. Some countries have removed them from list, but they are
not entirely.
So a group which was internationally recognized as a terrorist group suddenly became into power. So we should be patient while dealing with them. I think they have to behave like a state. They are now governing Afghanistan. Like our Prime Minister said in the UN General Assembly, he talked about reconstruction of Afghanistan. At the same time, Prime Minister also talked about the threat emanating from Afghanistan.
He also said that Pakistan is supporting what the United Nations appeal of $3 billion for the reconstruction in Afghanistan. So
Pakistan is always of engaging with the Taliban government, but at the same time Pakistan facing this threat. The problem with Afghan Taliban is that they are not able to change the mindset. What they think? They think is that if we will do anything like that, the ISKP or Daesh will tap in and they will lure in to these TTP groups. You know, the Daesh was initially formed from within TTP, the group under the leadership of Hafiz Syed Khan. They were the major chunk from TTP at that time in 2015. Now their majority is Tajiks and Uzbeks in Afghanistan, not Pashtuns as they used to be, but initially they were TTP people. So this is the fear factor within Afghan Taliban, that if we will take stern actions, then this will happen. Another aspect is within Afghan Taliban, I do not agree with you that there are ungoverned spaces in Afghanistan. Taliban have absolute control over entire Afghanistan. This is happening there after 50 years. But what is happening is there are power centers. There are some power centers, including their GDI, they actually support TTP to act against. So this is part of their strategy. At the one hand, they say there is inability, but within their power center, there are some power centers they support. They use TTP as a leverage against Pakistan. You know, settling
Definitely
some
we are witnessing
old
in
scores.
Kunar, in Nuristan, in Paktika and Paktia,
Everywhere.
all of the provinces which are especially along the Pak-Afghan border. Governors are actually supporting and giving refuge to the
When
TTP
we asked them
terrorists.
to relocate them, they said, give us money. So why should we give money to you? What the irony is that Taliban have taken care of the demands of China. They have not allowed ETIM, a Turkestan Islamic Party, to act against China, and they have relocated them from Badakhshan and Takhar to the south. They have taken care of the demands of Uzbekistan. They have taken care of even Tajikistan, which was not so welcoming.
You mean everyone is paying them money?
I don't
That's
know.
why,
No, it's perhaps not money. I don't know what is the reason, but the only country which is facing problem is Pakistan and then Iran. And to a large extent, they even have taken care of the Iranian interests. But specifically because Iran has a direct threat from Daesh, and Taliban are crushing Daesh.
They have to do it. It's their habit, because from the last more than 40 years, Pakistan sacrificed because of Afghanistan. So for their refugees, for their people, Pakistan extended a lot of hospitality to them. So I think so that that is their instinct to do it against all those who are helping hands to them, really. So your point well taken. Dr. Gulshan, what's your opinion on recently held the third round of quadrilateral meeting, Pakistan, China, Iran and Russia, in which they warned Kabul and stressed upon Afghan Taliban interim authority to dismantle and eliminate, these are the two words there, dismantle and eliminate, all terrorist groups equally and non-discriminatory manner, and prevent Afghan territory from being used to launch attacks against all the neighboring countries and beyond.
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. So the quadripartite meeting in New York involving countries like Pakistan, China, Russia, and Iran, it's very significant because it underscores the growing concern in these countries about terrorism in Afghanistan, its spill over to regional countries, and secondly, the concern that Afghanistan is harboring terrorists. So this meeting is important because of several points. First of all, the first point is regional security concerns. So this meeting involving 4 countries shows that these regional countries, they are very much concerned about the regional security situation. Secondly, they asked for a collective action, and their approach is also like shows their collective approach to this issue of terrorism. Thirdly, the words the used in that meeting were like there should be a non-discriminatory action against the terrorism. So this showed that it should be non-discriminatory. There are no good or bad Talibans, or there are no Talibans which are like supposedly supported by the Afghan government. So the action should be non-discriminatory, and it should be against each and every group of terrorists.
Whosoever is residing there in Afghanistan, actually.
Yeah.
So Abdullah Khan Sahib, since Afghan Taliban took over in August 2021, terrorist activities has surged, particularly in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and the Balochistan provinces. According to your own institute, Pakistan Institute of Conflict and Security Studies, PICS, in August alone, 83 attacks were happened. Killed at least 175 people, and most of the terrorist attacks were there in Balochistan. So how do you analyze overall situation in these 3 years? Because terrorist is surging, and particularly in those bordering provinces with Afghanistan.
Terrorism had started to take uptake in 2020, well 1 year before Taliban took over, but when Taliban took over, it was skyrocketing after that. And what we saw and analyzed is that the export of weapons, American weapons, modern military gadgets in the hands of terrorists, which was uncommon in the past. Now they are well equipped, having very modern gadgetry under their possession, and especially in Balochistan. And the problem lies in not just Afghanistan. There are problems coming from Iran as well, because there are the militants operating in Balochistan. They have their camps in Iran as well. Like we had, yes, we had taken action against them earlier this year as well. So the problem lies with both our Western
response to the
neighboring.
Iran's attack in Balochistan.
Yeah,
actually.
that was, but I am talking about the presence.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
the presence
is there.
Is
yes.
TTP, Lashkar-e-Islam, and other Daesh. They are residing in Afghanistan, BLA, BLF, and they have their camps in Iran. So both our Western neighbors, they have to look into their territory, why that soil is being used against Pakistan. This is actually something Pakistan is helping both the countries. Pakistan has taken care of the threats which are emanating from Pakistan to Iran. Pakistan has taken action against Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, against Jaish-ul-Adl, other groups. So Pakistan expects that other countries will also reciprocate. Similarly, in Afghanistan's case, what we have not done for Afghanistan, our Army Chief said on 14th of August at PMA that the way we help you, please help us the way we did. And we have been doing throughout in our history, and unfortunately they are not reciprocating. Somebody is trying to satisfy their public opinion, and while satisfying their public opinion, and they are trying to actually do a lot of silly things. But I think this is, Pakistan has faced a lot of problem in the past, and Pakistan overcome. Taliban don't have that kind of resources. If they will continue like this, they will actually destroy their own government, their own structure, their peace, what they achieved through a lot of sacrifices, and that is very fragile.
What Kabul think that they are doing good for their country,
and that
but
is
unfortunately
not,
that is the destruction.
That is not good for them.
Definitely.
Because for how long international community will look at you? Everybody is crying. SCO is crying. UN is crying. All to your four major big neighbors, China, Iran, Pakistan, all are and Russia, they are crying that the Afghanistan soil is becoming a hub of international terrorist groups. So Taliban and also narcotics, and this is something which is
because Russia, China, Pakistan and Iran, they are facing this brunt basically.
And recently high profile attacks by Daesh from ISKP in Russia and other countries, this is, and in Iran as well. So this is something which Afghan Taliban government have to take care of, because this will actually put them, they should recall that there was International Terrorist Act in United States, yes, which destroyed their previous government, and they are once again heading towards that. They are not taking care actions against Al-Qaeda. Even Al-Qaeda is flourishing once again in Afghanistan.
Because the repetition of history, what the Taliban possesses actually, that is going to be very destructive for Afghanistan.
Somebody should tell them.
Afghan people
yes,
as well.
Somebody tell them that this is against you. We are capable of facing such situation. This is you who will face the music if
Definitely,
you will not.
You are absolutely right. Your point well taken, Dr. Gulshan. Quadrilateral joint statement identified clearly several terrorist organizations operating in Afghanistan, including Daesh, Al-Qaeda, the Eastern Turkestan Islamic Movement (ETIM), Jaish-ul-Adl, the Balochistan Liberation Army, that is BLA, the TTP, and mentioned several of those outfits pose a serious threat to the regional and global security. Do you think that the Afghan Taliban will take regional countries and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization members seriously, as Afghanistan is also an observer in SCO, but never took Pakistan's several requests very seriously? So do you think this regional approach will at least shake Afghan Taliban to have some action?
So basically this regional approach by SCO and quadripartite countries is very comprehensive, and it should be very practical when it comes to the implementation. But Afghan Taliban's response towards this approach remains very complex. Though Afghanistan is a member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and Afghan Taliban's government a response is still to be noted, but there are many factors which may involve their response. First of all, the regional pressure through quadripartite meeting or through Shanghai Cooperation Organization is important, because in Shanghai Cooperation Organization there are two major powers like Russia and China. So, if they urge the Afghan government and the other regional governments to take comprehensive action against the issue of terrorism in the region, Afghanistan, the government of Afghanistan may listen to them. And secondly, there are different priorities by the Afghan government and government of Pakistan on the issue of Taliban. So, like Pakistan wants to completely eliminate the issue of TTP and all the other terrorist organizations from its territory.
Not only TTP, but also the BLA, the BLF, and the Majid Brigade, and all others who are residing there in Afghanistan and have a safe refuge there.
Exactly. Pakistan wants to eliminate all the groups from the territory and from the borders that Pakistan and Afghanistan share, but Afghanistan government may have a different opinion about those sanctuaries and may not be able to relocate all the terrorist groups from the border. Thirdly, there is another reason. For Afghanistan, China is important because of its economic initiatives and investment in Afghanistan. It's also important for Pakistan, but for some groups in Afghanistan, it may not be as important as these countries see it.
So, what's the reason the Afghan Taliban has the two different trajectories when it comes to Russia, China, Iran, and all others, and when it comes to Pakistan?
So, like there are many fractions of Taliban in Afghanistan. Like we have been seeing like Daesh, and then its groups, and then ISKP and ISIL, for example, and then they also support BLA, which basically operates along border or in Pakistan. So, the basic issue is that there is no consensus when it comes to target which group first and which group later. Secondly, priorities are different, and thirdly, I think that there is lack of willpower on behalf of Afghan government to take any action against these groups. So, the different priorities and different perceptions inside Afghanistan, and then the response to Pakistan's request to take action against them is the basic issue.
So, your point well taken. Brigadier Retired Ghazanfar Sahab, in the quadrilateral meeting, Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Mohammad Asif not only termed terrorism emanating from Afghan soil as bilateral concern, but also the regional one, and emphasized the importance of sustained international engagement to comprehensively address the security threats. Along with that, in a joint statement, addressed Pakistan's concerns in multilateral spirit. Your thoughts on that, please? And also that Abdullah Khan Sahab is saying that there is no ungoverned spaces in Afghanistan, and Afghan Taliban are fully capable, but they are unfortunately not able to point guns towards those who were having allegiance and having alliance during the war against the foreign forces. So, how do you respond to this even?
I personally feel that we have to look Afghanistan from two angles, and we must concentrate on that. One is the angle which relates to Afghanistan's relationship with the states like Russia, with the states like China, with the states like Central Asian, with the country like India, those parts. And second thing is that we have to see the relationship of Afghan government with Pakistan. As far as their relationship with the Russia, China, and other countries goes, you see, there's in Shanghai Cooperation Organization, where they were in observer state, they have adopted a collective security strategy in which they have mentioned everything, and they have said that there have to be a collective approach to control the terrorism emanating from Afghanistan. The point to understand here is that there are groups which are residing in Afghanistan, and I told you that Afghans are only one. Taliban government is only taking action against those groups which are a threat to their own government. They are not taking action against those groups which are initiating trouble in Pakistan. And if you create a linkage, the linkage means that there are the facilitators of those groups are present in Pakistan in the places where the illegal Afghan refugees are still present in Pakistan. Till the time you break that nexus, the terrorist activities in Pakistan will not be finished. And for that, Afghan government at their soil has to operate. But there is still infiltration going on. If you go in the areas above Parachunar, there is a line of there is a straight line from where there are reports that Afghan infiltrators and Afghan terrorists are infiltrating in Pakistan. Who I told you that Afghan policies ensure enablement of those groups who are taking action in Pakistan. Now, the world says that the presence of the terrorist group is a transnational threat. But you tell me, has there been any, for the last 3 years, since the time Afghans have taken over, is there any threat to US and US core interest in Afghanistan? Because United States has detached itself. It has only detached itself from the terrorist activities which are to be undertaken inside Pakistan. If there is a collective approach, then there has to be a collective pressure on Afghan Taliban. There is still today there is no collective pressure in Afghanistan. Recently, the United States Institute of Peace has published an article that 3 years under Taliban rule, where is Afghanistan standing? And it clearly mentions that Afghanistan is still a hotbed of terrorists inside Afghanistan.
So, Brigadier Retired Ghazanfar Sahib, you are talking about collective actions, the zero tolerance against all those terrorist groups who are there, regional cooperation. So, what measures could be done jointly or through the multilateral forum like Shanghai Cooperation Organization as quadripartite meeting supported in taking comprehensive measures to address both the symptoms and the root causes of the terrorism, and termed all forms of terrorism as the unacceptable and highlighted the pressing need of coordinated approach to eradicate terrorism in the region so that all the countries can flourish in that arena. So how do you see that, how much Shanghai Cooperation Organization, a multilateral forum, could be a catalyst to have eradication of terrorism from Afghanistan by taking on board to the Afghan Kabul Authority, along with that to have a coordinated approach to have peace in Afghanistan and complete stability?
It has to be a two angle. One is the Afghan, I told you Americans have a very strong role to play in the whole scenario, in compelling Taliban not to undertake terrorist activities in the neighboring countries. Second thing is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is specifically mentioned. And Shanghai Cooperation Organization have signed 25 documents, in which one of the documents which is very important is strengthening multilateral dialogue and striving towards sustainable peace and prosperity. Now, how do you strengthen multilateral dialogue? Strengthening multilateral dialogue, if the document is to be implemented in practical shape, the only problem existing here is that such an organization mentions about the steps to be taken, but when you have to convert those steps into the practical shape, at that point of time there is no approach which is being observed. Now, Afghanistan was an observer state in Shanghai Cooperation Organization. If it was an observer state, and there are 10 members of Shanghai Cooperation, this time the Mongolia has also joined. So you have to then now, two important members of the Shanghai Cooperation have to ensure, and China is a leader in that China is taking a lot of economic activities in Afghanistan. China's economic activities are threatened by the Taliban through Dasu attack which was undertaken against the Chinese engineers. So those powers who have the economic influence also on China, and I told you the United States which has all the influence in China and is still providing the money to Afghan government to run their affairs through different means, have to adopt a collective approach and compel Taliban.
Right. We have to adopt a collective approach on that. Abdullah Khan Sahib, SCO is against all kinds of terrorism, condemn in all its forms and manifestations, intended to have regional cooperation, collective response with zero tolerance. How much the SCO is successful in meeting its anti-terrorism objectives, especially regarding the regional anti-terrorist structure that is RATS?
First of all, it is a good thing that we are hosting a summit of SCO next week, and that is moment of pride for Pakistan.
No doubt about that.
But practically, I would say that SCO, especially related to counter-terrorism, they are talking much, doing nothing. They have established Afghan Contact Group back in 2005, and that has actually no legal value. Many SCO member countries, they prefer to engage with Afghan Taliban directly, not from the SCO platform. From they could have linked many things in Afghanistan, because Afghanistan currently faces enormous economic crisis. While the countries bilaterally engaging in economic activities, they could have used the SCO platform collectively in return of some sort of actions by the Taliban government. But no, everyone is safeguarding their own interests, but not from the umbrella of SCO. SCO, which was some people called it the NATO of East or NATO of Asia, but practically this NATO of Asia have to do something related to the terrorism in this region. They must develop some sort of at least counter intelligence gathering and sharing mechanism, or some action on the ground. Afghanistan is, as you had highlighted, is a observer. You can offer them that, look, if you want to become a permanent member, recently Taliban have shown interest that they want to become, their government want to become member of BRICS. So if they want to become a member of SCO.
Very important point, Abdullah Khan Sahab, you have made the intelligence sharing. So Dr. Gulshan, how much intelligence sharing, anti-money laundering and terrorism financing, capacity building and training mechanisms of those who intend to have anti-terrorism mechanism, planning counter-terrorism operations and strategies to get strengthened at the SCO level. How much RATS is helpful in that account? What benefits reaped after the SCO Convention on Combating Terrorism in 2019, the counter-terrorism strategy in 2018, and then the RATS action plan back in 2020 to 2022. So how do you foresee whole of the SCO mechanism against the terrorism?
So RATS and a convention in 2009 and then action plan in 2020 and 2022. They are very important features of SCO's counter-terrorism strategy, and it helped a lot China and other regional countries to combat terrorism through intelligence sharing, surveillance and sharing databases, and there was also a cyber security strategy to deal with the digital forms of terrorism and how they have been recruiting people from online portals. But there are many challenges to intelligence sharing in terms of will and preferences. For example, one state may not want to share each and everything with the other state when it comes to intelligence sharing. For example, in region India and Pakistan, they won't be willing to share all the information with each other because of their political and security issues. And secondly, when it comes to Afghanistan, because Afghanistan sees terrorists from different prism and different point of view, it may not share the details of all the groups and the list of their members or their locations with Pakistan, because there is a diverging point between Pakistan and Afghanistan's counterterrorism strategy. So there are a lot of issues, but there are success stories. For example, China, with the help of Central Asian states, it demolished all the separatist groups and their localities in its province of Xinjiang. So that could be taken as a very good example for intelligence sharing and online databases and sharing of information for common good.
So what you think about China has established comprehensive sectoral hubs for all initiatives under the purview of the SCO, including the security, the counter-terrorism, counter-narcotics and regional stability through the institutional framework of RATS. So how do you see China's leading role in anti-terrorism mechanism?
So I stayed in China for 3 years and I consider myself as a very secure woman over there. It's like China is not only secure for women, but it's secure for everyone. And I traveled a lot there. Even I went to Xinjiang province and I visited all the major cities. And I really liked the Chinese approach to counter terrorism. And all the initiatives under the SCO, for example, RATS is one of the major initiatives. China has been doing a lot, and in this region, China can be taken as leader of the strategy of counter-terrorism. So this is a very good approach, and through the platform of SCO, because SCO is other member states as well, and Afghanistan is an observer state, China and Russia collectively they can pressurize Afghanistan and other regional states who are facing the menace of terrorism and who can practically do something to curb this issue. So I think China as a leader in the SCO and as a regional leader can do a lot if other regional states listen to it carefully.
Definitely, you are absolutely right on that account. So, Abdullah Khan sir, very brief. Afghan Taliban ever think about that their country's progress, strengthening their economy and life of a common man in Afghanistan, about the prosperity but timely and effectively the completion of the valuable projects like Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India gas pipeline, the CASA 1000, Trans-Afghan Railway and all others, to have more benefits, the economic benefits to the Afghan people. That is only possible when there is complete peace and stability in Afghanistan and complete eradication of terrorism from Afghanistan. Do you think that they have to think on these lines as well?
I think, as I have observed, they are very much on these projects. They are very active on these, and TAPI and CASA 1000, a lot of progress has been happening during past 2-3 years. Many meetings between Pakistan, Afghanistan and Central Asian countries which are involved in this have been happening in Afghanistan and in Pakistan as well. So I think Taliban do realize, and they are doing a lot other than this issue of TTP. They are actually doing very good job while generating their homegrown revenue and many other things, and especially their focus. I have seen that these connectivity projects, these three which you mentioned, this is on their top of agenda. What I
that's good
realized.
if they have such type of thinking, that it would be really a good news for whole of the region even. Thank you very much, Abdullah Khan sir, for being with us in the studios. Thank you very much, Dr. Gulshan, and thank you very much, Brigadier Retired Ghazanfar sir, for being with us online and for your candid views. Viewers, as you have just listened to our panelists, Afghan Taliban are encouraging actually the terrorism in Afghanistan, and unfortunately some of the big powers and including India is supporting their designs in Afghanistan. Raw footsteps are there in Afghanistan, and still they are working in connivance with the Afghan Taliban, unfortunately supporting all those anti-Pakistan groups who are having refuge at the Afghan soil. Afghan Taliban must have to think about that, although they have lots of problems within Afghanistan, regional countries and might be some of the powers are ready to resolve some of their issues, but Afghan Taliban has to seriously think that their interim government would be successful when their people are going to be prosperous, and their prosperity depends upon stability and peace in Afghanistan. So all those trans-Afghan projects are also dependent upon the stability in Afghanistan. A SCO multilateral dialogue forum would be strengthened and it is possible to be more strengthened if the practical steps would be taken, especially at the regional anti-terrorism structure. That is very important to have cohesive approach and to approach the regional approach towards the terrorism, which is the zero tolerance against all those terrorist groups wherever those are, particularly within Afghanistan, and all the regional countries at the regional quad level, that is Pakistan, Russia, China and Iran. All of them has to fight this menace, because ultimately it is going to be lethal for the development and prosperity. So if we want to be prosperous, developed and strengthen our economies, it is important that stability, peace and free of terrorism atmosphere must have to be there. This is today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz Nasir.